So let me ask, because I think we're talking to 5-year-old mentally retarded people in America, minus Ame and minus Rika. Therefore, what you don't like listening to is exactly what you're going to listen to. Okay, because I learned this long ago when I was 5 years old. In the UN, in Western Europe, in Rome, in Germany, in England. Okay, this is what I learned where I was born. My blood is Russian and Arab. If the brother of the mother, who's 96, is the head of sciences at Warsaw University, says the Polish intelligence doesn't have the intelligence I had, and it's cheap shit at Kangoo with the Dutch and the Indians and the others. And that my Mir wasn't pink like Benjamin Ofori. So I grew up with Benjamin Ofori, who was the head of cancer for Scotland and Canada, from Ghana. And he says, this is pink. This is not you. You used to be grey, black, white, and pink. Now, you don't exist. You're multicolored. This is all news on the news. The nails grow strong nails. My nails? You must be thinking of something else. Your head was smashed on the coastlines of California. Those corporations were with you in the basements in the UN. They fell with you. Now they even have platinum hairs. You smashed that on the coastlines and you called it the poppy fields, but that was the science. That was the tech. That was July 2021. And you're denying the existence of Jamila. So to make you feel like females in the US, you sent your psychos. So we have the Hague of Dirk-Jan van Dam, the Bureau de Veritas, and the Italian Federal Bundestag Tribunal for your psycho extras, stalkers, who are from Fresno, who have federal prisoners' backgrounds in LA, but born in Fresno, because Fresno is not what it claims it is. Yeah, and this is what we call the extras for the dead baby. It's not a question of the social security number, 221 Delft, Holland. It's not a question of the familiar face. Every fucker in those 80 countries knows this about me. What that girl did, and about the particular corn cob. That's why I connected the dots with West Globals. Because that's void, because you killed the original Jamila's head on the coastlines. You smashed her to bits. You smashed my head to bits. That's empty, and I'm replacing that girl. Like this. I'm not a victim. There's blues behind this girl. Now, when it happens that somebody dies on the coastlines like that, you don't bring back Ubermensch in 80 countries. You want to stick to the US? 81 countries. So that was the cause célèbre. It's not a question of the Opus Dei or the timing or Greenwich Mean Time, stupid times. You are animals. You don't understand what's happening on the coastlines. It's not a question of patriotism. You already lost the intel. You know when they say, I don't like the J-Lo concept. If you could see it coming from China, you knew what that girl was, and you know that shit's already void. In Massachusetts, in DC, this is new mathematics. It's new science. It's not from Poland. It's from Russia. Same with the cousin of the father, sciences in Cairo, head of sciences. He says, it's cheap. You have to go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian Mir. When they say Mir, it means the dark shit. Now, if they bring back this in pink or in rosy, and you send psychos after her in the US, please tell me what kind of fucked up country you are. So don't speak to me about Delft and Intel, because I'm not that girl. But that you put me through psychos. Even the psych ward in Fresno is being sued. You don't understand this. In Europe, in the European Federal Tribunal, Dr. Parrott, the famous Parrott from my school, is sitting there saying, they're going to kill you in the US. These are animals. The Americans are just fucking animals. The people are animals. The girls are jealous of a dead girl. They're mentally retarded people. Either that or just bad. Don't have two brain cells to rub together. You can't even tell them what Disneyland knew in 80 countries. Stick in one more, 81 the US, minus Ame, minus Rika. They don't like listening to you. They hate you. It's not a question of making you cause célèbre. We're going to involve the Opus Dei. We can involve the whole fucking world. But that's all news on the news. We saw it coming like a freight train. So we're coming like a fucking speed flight. Except it's not banks. They called you terrorist. And I say, why would they do that? And they said, because they're American animals. It's not a question of federal prisoners. Fresno created its own fucking hellhole for themselves. The child used to work the original Jamila on the coastlines and around the world. The parents are on retirements in Fresno. The girl saw Satan, the true Satan. She saw the evil of all evils on the coastlines, where her head was smashed in, and that shit went empty. The void. Dirk Van Damme in The Hague wasn't sitting there and saying to me, that shit's void because you're dead. He did. He said even worse. He said to me, I had never met a girl like you in my life. I couldn't dream, he said. The Dutch are good at engineering. We built the Netherlands. God created us, we built the Netherlands. But you, girl, you were a phenomenon. You had your head smashed in on the coastlines. That was The Hague. That was the Bureau de Veritas. That was the Lowlands. It already happened, the nails. That's all news on the news. What are you going to change? You're going to reopen that shit? Maybe a PhD up your ass will help you. Maybe publishing some paperwork and knowing something. Knowledge. Knowledge. La sapienza. Go back to kindergarten, fucking asshole. Indios. There's a Scotland film to stay out of your shithole country. Keep your PhDs. This is not a question of cause célèbre. This is a question of hate. This is a question of American people who can't use their brains. People who don't want to hear the truth, the uncomfortable truth, and the reality that happened to that girl. In other words, you smashed a girl's head in on the coastlines and you're still terrorists to me. And that doesn't even mention the Barons and Fresno and retirements. This is who you are, minus Ame, minus Rika, Scotland film. You are the terrorists. That's why it wouldn't make a difference if I got blessings from the Opus Dei or the Catholics or the Brits or in the circles of Martin Snowden with the sciences or the Russians or the Saudis. It doesn't make a fucking difference. The loss was in the US of the intel. Therefore, the buildings are empty here. Miss? It's easy to make pink a particular corn cob after you smash the original girl's head in on the coastlines. It's easy to abuse a baby, but you are a heap of shit, US. No more and no less. That's why you said you don't like the J-Lo concept. That girl had a big-ass ship with her. And now she's a little yacht. That's why the bridges in D.C. were shut on July 20th. My birthday. That's why the bridges in Rome and in Cairo and the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods and in Russia, in Warsaw, and the square hostel. Yeah. And pink and grey shut up. And the bridge and in London. You'll never get it. You'll never get intelligence. You never had space breakers. I'm intelligence. I speak 8 languages when I'm a child. I have 10 degrees. I went to school with the presidents for free at 15. I have 2 degrees, 2 bachelors, 2 masters. Basically finished a PhD in cementation. But, you know, it was great. I had to come back to Fresno for both parents. And I back and forth. For free. Except the PhD, I had to pay $5,000 a year. That's not intelligence. Even if I speak 5 languages fluid. US. I was starting comparisons again with the Disney girl. Oh, I mean, we're just mentally retarded. Seriously. You're having fun with the dead baby? Why'd she come back? And in Fresno, going around in circles? What's this Library of Iran? In St. Peter's, when I went there to the hospital, Dr. Parrott and the others have a mausoleum of a female there. You have 2 palms so high that they go beyond the Vatican Hospital in St. Peter's. The green is above the buildings. They're that old. On the sides of the library, on the ground, on the sides, there's the cacti. What is this, a gardening course around the capital cities? Just for the dead baby on her dead Crowley, so you could feel like woman shooting at me and trying to rape me and manipulate me. I'm not going to fight psychos. I don't fight psychopaths. And I don't have psychosis. Not the one you think. Abusing this one is getting you nowhere. especially if she was famous. You don't look at what the person is famous for. What's she famous for? Avoiding. Then why don't you get your fucking PhD up your fucking ass and reopen my buildings, even the pink ones, in Warsaw University in New York? That was cancer and some other biomeds. You think that everything's easy, that you're just born like that. No. You think that if you open a piece of paper and you pay to get a college degree, you're going to be somebody. Wrong. Because that's what I had. And I'm Disneyland. And I have all those degrees. I don't give a shit. I'm 50 years old, 50. I don't owe you a fucking explanation to your fucking abusers. You're all federal prisoners. You're packed here in Frisco on purpose to hurt the child. And I'm not afraid of you. I'm not the original girl. I won't be able to change the void on the coastlines. Middle name Maria, multitasking. I'm not going to be able to change the ship to yacht around the world so the bridge is shot up. Or the void. I'm the replacement child. You fucking moron. A particular corn cob. They knew about the boys. The Superman buildings are over the world. I said, how did that happen if the original girl had her head smashed in on the coastlines? Another fucking mirror. I told you were a phenomenon. But the Americans denied it. Because patriot. They reopened my fucking buildings. Literally. And not the pink ones either. So that's that. That's who this country is. There are people who slow through life. Who go through, doesn't matter what country or what religion. And now we're talking probably on Facebook, on a primal level of understanding what the world is about. The fear that you have in America is that you are inadequate. As long as you have your comfort, your creature comforts, you're okay. As long as you're nouveau rich, you're okay. You will vote for anybody, even if it is fucking Satan, as long as you are okay. You're not the fucking country. You don't fight anything. You don't even have civil wars in this country to change your leaders. You don't think. You don't think for yourself. You want others to do the shit for you, and then when you kill that shit on the coastlines, you have pretenses. And how you killed it with a smashed-in hat. Then you need Disneyland to tell you that shit for herself and the others. And that's not even mentioning the Barons of Fresno. Many flyings. Beyond DC Library and other locations of DC, above and behind the hills, and then again, here, the third one for the dad, behind and above on the hill, the steps, and to the back, the legs, like that, on the ground. For the mom, a little alley to the left, forward, because she gets, and then more mountains, because she gets from Fresno to Poland, Poland to Russia, fake obituary. And you're still lying about it. It's not omerta. You're just assholes in Fresno for the retirements of the Barons. That many flying, that many cruises. And when you wonder why, there's the Scotland film, The Jobs of the Barons, where they're born. Pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. D1's Oslo, TCY, USA. In Fresno, there was a radio, one of their local radios, speaking about hunger and disease and I hope they all die. Who owns that radio station in Fresno? What are you, Satanists in Fresno? Puppy dicks. The privates of Fresno, you still claim that you're the CIA. You're not CIA. I know you're not CIA. It's not a question that I dated Tria for half a year and then for 6 years in Fresno. And he's just a fucking CIA sniper. And he don't have a high school education. Even in high school, Daniele and Bruno Benvenuti from Radio Globo said, man, the Viet Cong are good, but they're just fucking killers. We're not speaking about academic shit on the coastlines and all the space breaks, July 20 and all that shit empty. And the new technology share, the proverbial share of the millennia, 2 to 1. I was the leader of that. You don't have to worry. There was a ship to yacht. I wasn't alone. Bigger void. We're jealous of that girl, of the phenomenon. I'd be jealous of the whole fucking ship to yacht leaving your fucked up country. And that's the, yes, I did use the preachers. Scotland film. Eat your own shit and your own medicine. And you talk to me about Fresno for the Barons or retirements? Where the pioneer camps beyond the capital cities? I was born in Rome. I was conceived in Saudi Arabia and born in Rome. The only difference is the blues. I don't know what the blues are. I don't know what they are. I don't know what Übermensch are, the brothers. Why? Because technically, they said that if the original Jamila had her head smashed in on the coastline like this, there's no way that this one's the same girl. It can't. A byproduct of stupid times, Basler. German aerospace. That's why you hate the baby. And the only thing I have in common with the original Jamila, genetically, is the eyebrows, which are platinum in the UN at the age of 5. In other words, we're going back to kindergarten. For me and for the parents. That's how sick you are in this country. Now, there's reasons and reasons. Yeah? There's reasons. There's reasons for what things happen, correct? Because just not like that. We're all the same. I'm better. I'm better. You better. You as better as a hole in your asshole. Ladies, you wanted to prostitute me. You even sent a killer from Ukraine, wasn't even Polish, who was a psycho. He had already assassinated 2 Polish people. This was an Ukrainian killer. He had already spent 20 years in Warsaw Federal Prison for that. I'm an Iraqi. This guy followed me in London after 4 years. He suicided, thankfully, 25 times in front of the University of Greenwich Mean Time, Stupid Times. And then eventually, he suicided in front of me. I actually see this guy suicide in front of me and drop to the ground. Shugravsky. The whole campus is out there shooting at him. I said, I have had enough. At this stage, I had enough. I put to follow him, and they did bump him off. I ain't gonna speak no more. So that's for Heine from Fresno, who thought that he was a hero, who followed me to even to Poland. He's Hell's Angels. He's already been waterboarded in Santa Rosa, and the shelters at Dolores. And these are the good guys in comparison to the other homeless from Fresno who are psychos. This in San Francisco. So these federal prisoners from LA, who were born in Fresno, are friends of Tom and Jerry Dyer Towels. It's an extension of Tom and Jerry Dyer Towels. They're afraid of him because they were born in Fresno. But because the federal prison is in LA and not in Fresno, they had to go to LA. So this is what we call the homeless stalkers or psychos. So all of this shit is in the pink-ass Roman tribunal. So now I have The Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, and the Roman tribunal. Now I have 3 pieces of paper rolled up in a human being. Have you ever heard of a scroll? Like the biblical scroll? Echo. And this is after that shit on the coastlines, that's forward. In other words, I got so much paperwork and the Bureau de Veritas that by now, I don't know what to call myself. A piece of paper, an animal, a cat, an insect, pan labyrinth, replacement child, connected those who are wise to globals. Well, those guys bad enough. And for the parents, the parents is something else. Okay, that's it. So you could do all the flyings in the world, beyonds. You could do all the runnings, aboves and behinds. And you could do all the crawlies and me and little crawlies. They're on retirements in Fresno. So when I tell you, and the whole fucking world tells you there's a Scotland film, and look, the Polish show is so intelligent because it's the cleanest record in the history in the Eastern Bloc from Fresno to Poland, Poland to Russia. Well, that's what we call careerists. Because, on the Piłsudski moment, probably in the moment of Piłsudski, if it had been any time, any other regular time, without the war in Ukraine, without this, without that, without World War III trying to come up with the stupid Israeli Jews and all that, fuck it. The IDF and everything. In other words, at that moment in time, Mama gets out from Fresno to Poland, Poland to Russia. That's it. And the Pole Exit Article 7 at the same time happened. In other words, and you talking to me about Fresno for the father and the mother? Both of them on retirement? For the hanging bitches, the lark quitters, and Annie Direct? Oh, no. And then you have psychos and haters trying to get the baby. No, US. And what was I famous for again? Come on, deny it. Keep denying. So, why would intelligence of that stature bring back a little one with an ass-white piece of paper 2 to 1? Connected those who are wise to globals. What a genius I am. I have a PhD, 10 million boyfriends, and a limousine to boot. In other words, you're idiots. And the Disneyland version could see that. And it's all paperwork too. It's all official. You may say that paperwork is not official. It's not. It's just paperwork. The Hague, Bureau de Veritas, and the Italian Federal Tribunal. It's just paperwork. That's right. For me alone. Good luck, assholes. In other words, you're not going to even reopen that shit. It's not my problem that shit's void. You killed the leader. And that's not mentioning the parents of Fresno. And I didn't have a job per se because I was too busy flying and running. Well, I did. It wasn't a job per se. It wasn't a directorate in the United Nations. Also, DCY USAID, Humanitarian Leave Services. Mostly natural leave. Unless you don't get that. And when I say natural leave, there were others too. But there were, you see, think of Pan's Labyrinth. I am the insect. And the boys are the insects. In other words, the highly intelligent killers, the vision you get of the highly intelligent killers by now, after the smashed in head and the void, or what we call a product of stupid times, is that ain't gonna reopen nothing special for you. Sorry. All news on the news, nothing else. So that's why you hate me. You hate me because you didn't do it. You had it easy in the US. Comfortable. Easy. Millions. That didn't buy you cancer. It didn't buy you the empty buildings of space science. That's me. So you're looking at the face of a girl whose original head was smashed on the coastlines, and who is a replacement child. Bing-a-doo, Hague, Bureau de Veritas, and Roma Italian Bundesstaat Tribunal for the extra psychos and stalkers that Fresno loves to send everywhere for me. Because, after all, the void on the coastlines wasn't enough for them. A ship to yacht, with all the blessings and all the rest. In other words, Jamila doesn't have a chance. Jamila Maria doesn't have a chance in this world. That intel didn't stand a chance. And because you could see it coming from China, with all the flying and running, she's defending the parents. She's working elsewhere, not in Fresno. And they're on retirement to Fresno. So I don't know what credit you want to give to Fresno's intelligence. I don't know what credit you want to give to the psychos and the psychosis people. And what credit you want to give to your colleges to reopen that fucking shit on the coastlines. Because that's already empty. Per prophecy, Chichi Wonder of Holland. That's the old news on the news. You still hate me? Look. You'll never see the original Jamila. You'll see this. And maybe you'll see the blues. The insects, Pan's Labyrinth. So, now that you knew about the floating barrage and the hernia, right, you know about the how beautiful you are. Achievements don't come easy. Records don't come easy. And if you kill it on the coastlines, it's old news on the news. It can only void. It will not give back anymore. Because it's dead with a head smashed on the coastlines. And I'm the replacement child. And as long as you believe that you are better, you will lose. As long as you believe, as long as you beat your chest, America, America, America. What did you do for your country? Other than sit on your fat ass, screw it up for your own people, and screw it up for the people abroad. And still fucking fail in your own lives. That shit's void. They're happy it's void abroad. My enemies are happy that it's void. That's how bad it got with the Germans. And I'm not German. For the aerospace. And for the tech. And for the cancer. And for the other things that girl was famous for. Before you smashed her head in on the coastlines. And became famous for that, US. Minus Ame, minus Rika. That's what 221 is, Delph. Whether it's the number or whether it's the face. It doesn't matter whether it's in the UN in Rome or in Germany or in London or Warsaw Internationals or in Russia or in Arabia's. It's famous. That's old news on the news, the nails. And it's not changeable. Because most people have enough brains to understand that if it's old news on the news, the nails, and the girl already had her head smashed in with as a leader with the others, who were corporations, and she was the flyer and the runner, and they were the ones who were sitting on the fat asses, professors, that she's the one who did all those things, and she's dead. Because you don't believe in phenomena from Russia or from China, I agree with you. That's why it's void on the coastlines, together with the smashed-in head of the leader on the coastlines. You are terrorists. You called me Bin Laden. Let me put it this way. Bin Laden is better than the fucking Mossad. That's what you are, US. And when they say butt ugly, you are butt ugly. If they brought back a girl after so many flyings and runnings and her crawlies and her crawlies and the work she did around the world when she was alive, the reason they would have done that is to prove to you how ugly you are, how butt ugly you are, how judgmental you are. Because as long as you cannot reopen Nashe on the coastlines, you're being judgmental with me, the replacement child. And as long as you don't have a father and a mother like mine, the same. The pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, Pieszyce, Norilsk, it's the parents. Something like that. We can go back to geography at the age of 5. I was born in the capital city of Rome. The blues are elsewhere. And they have nothing to do with me, or the original me, or the parents. We know them. I know them from a distance. But they were taken from the family long ago. Because that girl was a phenomena. And when she had her head smashed in, the boys were taken. Now, who the adoption agencies would be? My best guess would be Russian and Saudi, where my blood comes from. The second best guess would be Italian, Intel knew her, the UN, and Woolwich with Martin Snowden, the head of sciences. That's as far as I can tell you about the blues. And if they are in the US, they're in particular spots, nowhere near your smelly asses in Fresno or anywhere else. They would be with the guys with the plum hairs, or the ones who fell with her, but previously in that big-ass ship to yacht. Because even the Americans are not so fucking retarded in Intel with those losses. They're not like you. They're not going to beat their chest on the streets and say, "Remember those babies! I want to!" Well, the Intel had its head smashed in on the coastlines. And I come out like a phoenix, pink ass, and have to put up with your psychos. The Italian Federal Bundestag Tribunal had a field day for your American extras. That's what you're famous. Doesn't matter how much you bless me. Scotland film. I'm a timed child. I have 147 to 221 in geological rebirth. Social security number is made of 9 digits. I only have 2 slots left. I won't be killed. I'm a genetic replacement. I last for the coastlines. When they said Bobby on the coastlines, they meant that in that span of stupid time, something's going to happen. Before, during, and after. Because it already happened, and it will continue happening. And it was big enough for that girl to come back as Disneyland. The parents on retirements is something else. The parents on retirements are on retirements in Fresno. Those are the pioneer camps. They're D1s of Oslo, DCOR, USAID. Where's the respect for work? The intelligence of Fresno is exactly what it was from the beginning to the end. You pissed off the Polish, not only because of the rule of law, but because they had to bring her to Russia. And then they got more in trouble. Much more in trouble. And for the dad, and for the girl for the girl. It's already in the past, the nails. But there's the void. And because there is the void of that girl, her beauty, you're pissed off at the replacement child. Then you had verbal vitriol. You're incapable, we're going to hurt your parents. Really? Even that vitriol. Towards the father and mother. I look at your mothers and daddies in Fresno, USA. I don't see no one having such parents. That's what's famous beyond famous. And that's why there were revolutions in London, and Warsaw Internationals, in Russia, in Arabia's, in Rome, and on the East Coast in DC, Langley, which in my opinion is not you, California. I'm better. You needed to bring back Disneyland. And that's for Matt, to make you feel like woman and man. I'm not even me, you fucking bitch. I only have this. In comparison to the original girl. Do you know why they did that? To show what the fuck you are as a country. Nothing else, US. Minus Ame. Minus Rika. For German aerospace. For Woolwich, Martin Snowden. For the Italians and the UN. For Warsaw Internationals. With the sciences at Warsaw University. Empty. Same in Cairo, Saudi and Russia. That's what I represented. That's what I was. And that's what you did to me. You smashed my head on the coastlines and brought me. Indios. Indios. That's what to do. Holland. The elf. Idiot. So please keep your fucking psychopaths out of my fucking face. Okay? And your psych ward and all the shit in Fresno, because we already know what the fuck you're playing at. And we already have it on the Italian Federal Tribunal, as you want to, aka call it, the Roman Tribunal in pink. For your fun kill. We just have fun in a different ways on the coastlines around the world. And that's not the Barons either, on retirements in Fresno. This happened many times on my crawlies and literal crawlies. I have no fucking qualms to tell you that you're shit as people. Because I know it's not the intel. And it's just what you're inventing. And that Fresno that you're inventing for the Barons is the same people. You're inventing the same shit. The coastlines was intel. But that's gone. And that's why they called it the Holy Grail. And that's why that's empty. And that's why within the CIA, they had to cover up and they had to fool with her and have the Platinum House. In fact, they knew they wouldn't be able to bury it. They knew I was coming back and they knew there were blues. They knew it from a distance from China. Coming like up on the coastlines. Bit strange, don't you think? You think about criminal rates in the US. This is not criminal rates. Now it's criminal rates. What happened on the coastlines was they wanted you to lose that intel. And you didn't figure it out. You didn't figure out that they wanted you to lose that intel. And you're taking it out on me because you're bitches. Full stop. And that's the least that I can call you. Now, because I'm Disneyland and I'm supposed to say this to you nicely, there's the Scotland film to stay out of this country. You can keep your PhDs up your ass. And that's not the Barons either. That's not the Barons of Fresno. I'm not kidding when I'm telling you we still have time, 147 to 221, 2 slots, literally, to stay the fuck out of this country. With the Scotland film. I'm sorry that they brought me back like this. But that's it. They smashed my head on the coastlines. The only relic they could bring back to the public was pink. Intelligence. That's why the CIA and Western Europeans, where I was born and raised, and other places, fell. That's what we call the mermaid. That's old news on the news, unless you want to call it Titanic. I don't like the J-Lo concept. You know, this is such old news on the news that it almost beguiles me, US. How bad and stupid you are. I can't lose anything. I don't give a shit what I lose in the US. Yeah? With all those internationals and the Brits and the Italians and German airspace, not to mention the people I come from, ship to yacht. No wonder they called it the big one, 221. And you speak, no wonder they brought me back. And you speak to me about the Barons of Fresno? Come on, people. You don't need more revolutions than that, cement trucks that many times. They're going to be sitting there saying to me the fucking cats, dogs, and birds fucking heard out of this shit. You're ugly. You put in this one in between. And what do? Send psychos and fucking abusers and pulpit. No. It's worthless speaking to retards. We have to stay out of this country. Goodbye. We can stay in Europe, we can stay in Saudi Arabia, Russia, Warsaw International. I can even stay in Germany, as much as I don't like the Germans. London, Britain, Martin Snowden, the Italians, anywhere in Western Europe. Anyway, goodbye. And as for the baby, if something happens to the baby, don't worry. They have dentists for the baby. And if there's blues, there's some plage. Have you heard of the Roman Bazaar? The marketplace? You know, where they sell athletes? Like, I have never seen so many bad people in my life in the U.S. I don't know whether it's the neighborhoods. I know. I don't even think that's it. No. There's something else.